Were you in the school system during the COVID period?
Yep.
How was that?
A lot of that was online, like
of
at
course.
home, online, which really sucked.
When you did go back to school, where there's enforced masking?
Oh yeah.
So how did you deal with that?
It wasn't very fun. We had to wear masks like 24/7.
Now, what's your opinion on the
They don't
validity?
do
Okay.
They're useless.
Do you think they do any harms, or they're just useless?
Just waste money. They look stupid.
No, you had to wear it yourself, and
Yeah,
you
we were,
didn't
like,
try
forced
to
to.
oppose it or anything.
I mean, like we used to wear it under our nose, and we would get in trouble for that and all that. So
Go to the principal's office.
pretty much, yeah.
What does the principal want all these guys in there with no half the mask
Who knows?
cap off? You must have got COVID and died.
I guess so.
Okay. So, any other comments on the COVID time or online schooling? Did you think that went better or worse?
It was horrible. Like our class averages dropped.
Okay.
And they, in my opinion, haven't gone up since. I think my English class, we were talking about it in class the other day, I think our class average is like a 63%.
And what was it before, do you know?
COVID, I think the average for most classes was in the 80s.
Wow.
A small fringe minority holding unacceptable views.
My name is Wayne Baker. Today I bring you part 2 of my interview with Daniel Hotson, a student at Stratford District Secondary School. Last week in part 1, Daniel blew the whistle on the harm students are experiencing thanks to woke ideologies such as transgenderism and critical race theory, which have invaded the school curriculum. That episode has become our most popular so far. It has been viewed by many of the students and staff at Daniel's school with positive feedback. In today's episode, we shift to focusing on other ways the woke school system is failing students and explore alternatives to how kids can still receive a good education that will lead to well-paying careers. Daniel Hotson lives in Perth County. When Daniel turned 14, he took his first job working on a dairy farm. He is now 17 and apprentices at Nes Repair, where he is learning to become a car mechanic. In this week's episode, we discuss the shocking reason Daniel will not use the restrooms in his school anymore, how Daniel's teachers waste time indoctrinating students with LGBTQ1A2S+ ideology, instead of focusing on more appropriate lessons such as algebra formulas. How the consequences of masking, lockdowns, and online schooling have harmed students and their future prospects. Why Daniel has chosen to seek only passing grades. The reason even conservative politicians are not speaking out against such psychological and physical abuse being perpetrated upon children and teens. The Canadian economy is crashing due to out-of-control government spending. Likewise, job opportunities are decreasing due to out-of-control immigration policies. This is a time when students need the most help to prepare for a difficult future. Daniel Hotson, however, provides an example of how not to be a victim of the woke-out school system.
At least, have you ever been kicked out of class for not saying something?
Well,
Never that bad?
No, not.
Okay, that's good to hear. It's not that bad yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be where it's like if they asked you to say your personal pronoun and you were refusing to give your personal pronoun, I'd be curious to see if, one day, it's like, listen, if you will not tell the class your personal pronoun, you got to go to the principal and have a talk with, let me look at my list, with him. You got to have a talk with him. He just updated it today.
Yesterday was the day.
Yeah. And it's sad. But that's how the last 3 years have been in so many ways. I'm curious, were you in the school system during the COVID period?
Yep.
How was that? Just so you don't have to go into too much detail, but just...
A lot of that was online. Like
of course.
Online, which really sucked.
When you did go back to school where there's enforced masking?
Oh yeah.
So how did you deal with that? Like
It wasn't very fun. We had to wear masks like 24/7.
Now what's your opinion on the
They don't do
validity?
anything.
Okay.
They're useless.
Do you think they do any harms or they're just useless?
Just waste of money. Look like stupid.
Did you find it had any social effects?
No, I wouldn't say that.
You don't think it hurt
Well, now,
interaction between people?
Say, like if somebody wears one now, I would say yeah, it has some social effects.
No, you had to wear it yourself, and
Yeah,
you
we were,
didn't
like,
try
forced
to
to.
oppose it or anything.
I mean, like we used to wear it under our nose, and we would get in trouble for that and all that. So
Go to the principal's office.
pretty much, yeah.
What's the principal want all these guys in there with no half the mask
Who knows?
cap off? You must have got COVID and died.
I guess so.
Okay. So, any other comments on the COVID time or online schooling? Did you think that went better or worse?
It was horrible. Like our class averages dropped,
Okay.
and they, in my opinion, haven't gone up since. I think my English class. We were talking about it in class the other day. I think our class average is like a 63%.
And what was it before? Do you know?
COVID. I think the average for most classes was in the 80s.
Wow. I just saw the headline for the New York Times recently, just last week. You know, New York Times is not exactly a conservative newspaper, and they put out saying that the COVID lockdowns have put us 2 generations behind in educational progress.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's going to hurt us so much, the kids not being able to participate properly in society and contribute.
Unless we homeschool these kids and they can accelerate their education. Yeah, public education, I won't argue. It's, I mean, again, it's a race to the bottom.
Oh yeah.
There's this, I know when I was in school, this is going back a long ways now, but the bright kids were sort of knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this normal level, and if you tried to go beyond that level, it really wasn't encouraged, socially or otherwise. So it was, yeah, the comfortable place is to be with the pack, and unfortunately that's the public education system, and unfortunately that does not encourage a good societal growth. It encourages Marxism.
Yeah.
Sir Ken Robinson said one of the biggest problems of the school system is it's based on a factory system, and they're classified by date of manufacture. So if you're a certain age, you're put with other people of your certain age, which does not make any sense because you might be brighter. So if you're brighter, go with people who are brighter and work with them at that level.
But the model we have is this. I believe we have a system of education that is modelled on the interests of industrialism and in the image of it. I'll give you a couple of examples. Schools are still pretty much organised on factory lines, so ringing bells, separate facilities, specialised into separate subjects. We still educate children by batches. We put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? Why is there this assumption that the most important thing kids have in common is how old they are? It's like the most important thing about them is their date of manufacture. You know what I mean? Well, I know kids who are much better than other kids at the same age in different disciplines, or at different times of the day, or better in smaller groups than in large groups, or sometimes they want to be on their own. If you're interested in the model of learning, you don't start from this production line mentality. It's essentially about conformity, and increasingly it's about that as you look at the growth of standardised testing and standardised curricula. And it's about standardisation. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm.
What are your plans? Like, you're in grade 11.
Yep.
You got one more year to go. Are you planning on doing grade 13?
No.
No, I didn't do it either.
Get out of there. Seems like that.
And where are you going? Yale?
No. Not quite.
No, okay. Well,
Maybe Harvard.
maybe Harvard. No, what's your plans? If you have any, or, what are your feelings about
I don't know, I was thinking sticking with being a mechanic, like apprenticing as a mechanic.
Car mechanic?
Yeah.
Alright. Is that, why is that?
I like fixing stuff, like working my hands.
Yeah.
Or working kid.
Yeah.
One of the very few.
Which is odd.
It will put you at a distinct advantage in your generation as well, because most people really don't want to or really aspire to using their hands.
Yeah.
And
Did you say their heads or their hands?
well, realistically,
Both.
as a mechanic, they have
You have to do both.
they
yeah.
have to be really sharp, but they also have to be able to pull the figure out what the problem is, pull the part, like pull the car apart so they can get to the problem, get the replacement part and put it back in and put it all back together.
You can do that already?
For the most part, yeah.
And you're only 17?
16.
16.
Yep.
And you actually get paid to do this right
Yep.
now too. And unless they get rid of cars, you got a pretty good future.
Yeah.
Well, it can spin off. So car
Sure, you
car
can apply
mechanic
it, yeah.
can very quickly pick up heavy equipment.
Construction, farm.
Whether it's construction equipment or farm equipment or tractor trailers,
Truck and coach, yep.
truck and coach,
Yeah.
buses. So the potential for Danny as starting out as an automotive mechanic is basically sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Because all these vehicles, every vehicle you see on the road
Sure.
requires the services of a mechanic. At one point or another in its history, or in its in its lifespan, it's going to require the services of a minimally to change oil, to rotate tires, and to fix brakes.
Do you know Charlie Kirk?
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, he runs Turning Point USA. Got a 3-minute clip here. I think you'll want to see what you think about this.
Hey, I've got a great investment idea for you. You give me $100,000 and 4 years of your life, and I give you, pretty much nothing. No, I'm not the devil. I'm Mr. College, and I'm here to help you finance this wonderful opportunity. I have a whole package of government loans and impressive sounding scholarships to make it all possible. Of course, you'll have to pay interest on the loans, which will double the cost over time, but that's a problem for future you, and need not concern us now. Do we have a deal? Yes! Of course we do. You want to succeed in life, don't you? How can you do that without a college degree? But that doesn't mean you can't have a good time. Are you a movie fan? We've got a degree for that. How about criminal justice? Be like one of the cool people on the TV detective shows. And we offer a whole selection of minority and gender studies programs. Learn why you're a victim and deserve to be angry all the time. What are you waiting for? Sign on the dotted line. Classes begin in the fall. Don't miss orientation, especially if you're male. You don't want to be parading your toxic masculinity around the campus. Definitely not cool. Sound crazy? I don't know why it should. Millions of college students make that deal every year, usually with their parents' encouragement and financial support. Now, don't get me wrong. I have nothing against going to college. I sincerely believe it can be a worthwhile pursuit under the right circumstances. If you want to be a doctor or an architect, for example, it's obviously a necessity. But look through the typical college syllabus, and it's clear that most of the majors, not to mention classes, are a waste of time and money. So why do responsible adults who only want the best for their children and are usually cautious with their hard-earned money squander it on such a bad investment? Worse, why would they send their son or daughter to a school to learn to reject the values they, the parents, hold dear? On what planet does that make sense? It doesn't. It's an old paradigm, and we need to break it before it breaks us. How do we do that? Here are 2 solutions that would go a long way to solving the problem. 1. Ask yourself if you really need to go to college. Most of us go to college because it's simply expected that we do so. Our parents expect it. Our friends expect it. Plus, it sounds like fun, a rite of passage, an escape from mom and dad and all their rules. But none of that actually has anything to do with getting an education or earning a living after you leave college. Maybe you're not the academic type. What's wrong with that? Nothing. According to a Georgetown University study, there are 30 million jobs paying over $55,000 a year that don't require a college degree. Learn a skill like welding or plumbing or a dozen other trades, and you'll never be looking for a job. The jobs will be looking for you. We're talking $50 an hour or more, six-figure income after 5 years, and no debt. Consider the military. You learn essential skills, and again, no debt. Or go into sales. You don't need a sociology degree for that.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it depends on if you're the right person for college or not.
Well, he gave two options there. I was impressed with the fact he said, get a trade, join the military, go into sales, which I actually found interesting because that's exactly, I did the third one. I wasn't expecting that. Because we all know in the sales world that it's like, you want to make money at sales. The last person they want to hire is someone who has a marketing degree.
Yep.
I did 2 of the 3.
So you did, were you in the military? Or no, you did sales and
I did sales
trade.
and trade.
Well, and a lot of times too, if you have a trade, you end up having to be involved in sales naturally if you're going to sell your trade.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Depending on the demand. But what were you doing then?
I sold real estate for 13 years.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you're a real sales, dedicated sales.
Oh, yeah. Going for,
Oh, this is why you're such a door knocker.
actually 13 years of selling real estate.
Yeah, okay. That's one, there had to be some history to it. I just assumed you were Jehovah's Witness, but no, you're...
They never got me. They tried, but they never.
I have a lot of admiration for the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses to go around knocking on doors and trying to sell.
That's a tough sell.
A
really tough sell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they got guts.
Yeah.
I always, but
Yeah.
how much does Steve charge you to learn from him?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I get paid to learn from him.
We call that, what do we call that? Apprenticeship.
That's right. Yeah. One advice I would give to any young person, a little piece of advice is really smart what he suggested. Take a year off, minimum year off. But whatever you do, stay out of debt. Until you've got your education figured out, stay away from debt. And those credit cards are tempting and everything else, but live with it well within your means, save your money, and if you decide to go to university, it puts you in a stronger position to be able to go. So.
And it's surprising, a lot of courses now, like people in India get an engineering degree online for like $15,000 to the same knowledge that costs ridiculous amounts of money here. I had a friend who did engineering at Thunder Bay, and it was required for him to take Ojibwe language courses while he was doing it. And he was stressed out of his mind just trying to, pass the course plus learn Ojibwe at the same time. And I said, well, why do you need this? Are you going to be like building bridges in native communities? And I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Would learning Ojibwe help you become a better mechanic?
No.
Sure? Well, maybe if you decided to move to a reserve and do the mechanics, but otherwise, so it's just bizarre, and I think that's what he meant, the silly courses they add, like learning medieval feminism or something, whilst you're trying to become a brain surgeon. Which, to me, if I need a brain surgery, it would not be on my list to find out whether he could speak Ojibwe or knew about medieval feminism.
Yeah, that's not a real deal breaker for you?
It's actually a make work for less than productive professors that really shouldn't be there as professors. They should be living in the real world and finding out what it's like to live in the real world rather than stealing our resources and worse yet, stealing the resources of young people that really can't afford to have their resources taken away from them.
This is Weapons of Mass Instruction. I recommend, especially any parent or teenager, read this book because it totally demolishes the school system. The importance of it after maybe you learn how to read and write. I just got 3 paragraphs here I want to read from you. I want to get your point of view, see if you would actually do this or not. He won the New York Teachers Award, and he had one student called Stanley. He says, "Let me tell you a little about Stanley, whose paths crossed mine when he was just 13. Stanley only came to class 1 or 2 days a month, and I knew that sooner or later he'd be caught in the truancy net and persecuted. I liked Stanley, not least because he never whined when other kids bothered him because he was fat. He simply pounded them so hard that on the head nobody ever bothered Stanley a second time. I hope to spare him the grim experience of becoming a social service case. So I asked him one day what he did on all his absences. What he said changed my life. I never saw school the same after Stanley spoke. See, it seems Stanley had 5 aunts and uncles, all in business for themselves before the age of 21. His aim was to follow in their footsteps. Even at age 13, he had been made aware of Time's winged chariot hurrying near, that he had only 8 years to make the miracle of an independent livelihood. One of the relatives was a florist, one a builder of unfurnished furniture, one a deli owner, one had a little restaurant, one owned a delivery service. Stanley cut school to work without pay for each of these relatives, bartering labor in exchange for learning the businesses, and a whole lot more, working in the company of men and women who cared for him much more than any professional stranger would have. It was a better educational package than whatever he missed cutting school, hands down. As he put it to me, man to man, this way I got a chance to see how the different businesses work. You tell me what books I have to read and I'll read them, but I don't have time to waste in school unless I want to end up like you, working for somebody else." When I heard that, I couldn't keep him locked up with good conscience. Besides, his mother agreed, so I began to cover for him, logging him present when he was making floral bouquets or building furniture. So my question to you is, like, it's nice, and we won't tell Steve this, but it's nice Steve's paying you, but would you do it for free just to have learned?
Oh yeah.
Like Stanley here? Do you think this was a smart kid, or was this like...
Just to have a future, really.
Like what he said there, he said, I got 8 years to make an independent living.
Yeah.
Is that what went through your head? Like what, you said you started working at 14, most kids don't.
Yeah, like within the week of my 14th birthday, I got a job.
Why?
That's how my parents did it. That's how I was always taught.
Hmm.
Have you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No, I haven't. It's on my list.
It's along the same lines of that. The author, he's a fairly well-known millionaire in the States.
Japanese man, is he not?
He is, yeah.
His name's like there, but I can't access it.
I'm the same way.
It's a cool sounding name too, and I wish I could remember. It has you know those Japanese names that kind of flow off your tongue?
Yeah.
Maybe we should just look it up so we look smart. There he is. Robert. What's that? Robert T. Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki.
Yeah,
That's it. Robert Kiyosaki. So yes, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki is the author, and he goes into, like, he talks about meeting his best friend's dad. His best friend's dad was very wealthy, independent,
Mm-hmm.
and
I remember this story.
His friend's dad offered him the opportunity to work with him, and the deal was he had to work for free.
Mm.
And so he decided he would take him up on it. Well, it turned out that by working for free, he was gaining skills. He was seeing how the marketplace worked, and he started to see opportunities that he wouldn't see otherwise. And so he goes to his friend's dad and says, "I see this opportunity. Are you okay if I pursue it?" His friend said, "Absolutely, go for it." And that was the beginning of his money-making enterprises. So it's more a function of being able to. I think I read a book once that talked about taking advantage of the government's memory, and I love the analogy of that. But even if, like, there's a reason why the government insists that we have jobs, and the reason that we have jobs is so we can be controlled. We're easier to control. Our income's predictable. And the more predictable our income is, the easier we are to control.
What do you mean they insist we have jobs as opposed to
Well,
being self-employed?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. I insist is maybe the wrong term. Encouraged. We're strongly encouraged to have jobs.
Yeah. To be an employee.
To be an employee. That's right.
Okay.
We're not encouraged to think
Entrepreneurially.
Some people naturally are, but we're not encouraged to think that way. And we're not, we're also, employers are forced to pay minimum wage, which doesn't encourage productive thinking.
Yeah.
Which is, in a way, is a form of, like, it encourages enslavement and entrapment is what it does. By being able to look outside the box, being able to look at for opportunities and living by your wits, if you will, the opportunities are there, and there's also a sense of self-confidence. I mean, I used to, when I was, my trade, I learned my trade in sales, if you will. When I apprenticed afterwards, it was more, I knew what to do, and I knew how, I knew what was expected. But the real learning for me was in sales. And I used to have a saying that I wanted to know that I 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 could look after. At that point I was single, look after a wife and family. And I just wanted that internal knowledge that I could do it. And once I acquired that, the world opened up for me. And by being a slave to a wage, you really don't have that internal confidence, if you will.
I see you nodding your head, especially when you mentioned the family thing. Is that a part of a motivation for you to get your income up and everything, so that you can have a wife and children?
Support family, yeah. Have a good, solid family.
Because you'll attract a better mate and partner if they see someone that they know can provide.
Yeah, someone useful, not living off the government.
Yeah, yeah. And is entrepreneurship something you're considering, or like starting your own mechanic shop one day?
Maybe, yeah. It would be cool.
Though sometimes too, when you're dealing with like a small businesses, it's almost like everyone is almost like a co-owner anyways. It becomes, I feel like my experience of working, I've worked in small restaurants in Toronto, one small restaurant in Toronto, and I just saw that the people who stuck along, they were getting paid so much, it was just like they were partners in the business eventually.
You all have a stake in the business.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is if the business doesn't do well, the wages can't be met. And if the wages can't be met, then you're on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you take that attitude and encourage customers to come back. I always maintain in a restaurant the cheapest part of running a restaurant is putting food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the most expensive part is getting people in the front door.
And having them come back, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you're getting them in the front door.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea is
again
to keep coming in the front door, yes.
Yeah.
No, I had that experience in the first restaurant I worked in Toronto. There was a large Spanish population in that area. And I already knew some Spanish, but I made a point every night of going home and upping my Spanish. So to the point that anyone could come there and I could serve them in Spanish, like I could figure out what they wanted and so forth. And my boss at the end of the week, he gave me $100 extra. Just like, bang. Because it was particularly too, I think at that particular week was an enormous Spanish event was happening. So we were just flocked with people who couldn't speak English. And it was just something I did extra on my own. I didn't learn all that many words. Anyone could have done it. Spanish isn't that hard, but he had that incentive. It's like, well, I see my employee making me more money. I'm going to give him more money.
Yeah.
I don't think you get that at Walmart if you do better.
Walmart, you see, something that I don't think people really understand this is when we talk about socialism and we're anti-socialism, everyone focuses on government as being the primary motivator for socialism. But big business is a huge motivator for socialism because they expect employees to conform, and in fact it's a worse environment for people to exist in because there's no democratic representation whatsoever. There's no accountability. The accountability is to the bottom line, and whatever, like it basically makes people, it devalues people to the advantage of the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And that I really have issues with that. I really have a problem with that.
Human resources.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mean, John?
Well, that's how they refer to people, as a resource that I think they categorize as being, just like any other asset in their business. It's not something they, I think, even see as being something that can develop, or that they want to develop, and it becomes a threat to them.
That's
because eventually someone gets too smart in Walmart, they're like, well, why don't I just start my own business? Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, yeah, they get the right backers and the way they go. Yeah, so. I really like it's not just Walmart but Amazon and the hyper huge conglomerates. We were talking earlier about Microsoft.
Yeah.
And their whole business model revolves around dollars, not around humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I really have a problem with that. I really have a big problem with that.
Well, sometimes I have the opposite problem, having helped a lot of small businesses where they're too focused on the people and not enough on the money, and then that creates the opposite spectrum where because the best thing a small business can do to help the world is get bigger.
Yeah.
Help themselves and do their self-worth.
Although I'm guilty of I'm a one-man show. I occasionally hire someone to help me, but I tend to do things by myself. So that's just the way it's really hard to transfer the skills I have. So it's just easier just to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're a one-man show too, John.
Oh no, I'm not.
No?
Oh, you just look at the back of my novel. There was 35 acknowledgements. The amount of people I paid to help me write that novel.
Okay.
I have a lot. I don't have. Well, technically, I got so many virtual people I work with. I have like 2 proofreaders. So
okay.
I've consulted with. A lot of the people on that list. I pay them. They either get royalties on the book or I pay them up front. And then I have a personal assistant who works 6 hours on site.
Okay.
Because, my particular craft, I don't outsource that, but anything else I can outsource.
Okay.
And I'd encourage people to do, I see young men, if you've got a good mechanic, it's like, and then they're cleaning their own house. It's like, why are you cleaning your house? Hire someone to clean your house.
Oh.
Because it costs you $25. Even if that's all you're making, it's still better because then you can focus on your craft.
Focus on what you're good at.
Yeah, because some stuff you can't outsource, but it's just like anything you can. I have most of the kitchen work is done by a nurse who was kicked out of the hospital system, and I hired her 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been hiring people for a decade now, and it's worked out very nice, and it helps them. And they're getting paid more than minimum wage, and when they know they're getting paid 25 hours, they try to get as much as they can done.
In that hour.
Yeah. So. And it works better for me than, going to $25 at a restaurant today doesn't go far. I can have, it's like...
You're lucky to get breakfast anymore for that.
Yeah, and I got a good appetite, so it's like, sometimes you go to these things, it's like you pay $20 and you're looking at this, it's just like, what is this? Is this a senior's portion? So, then my son, boy, it's like, we're just going to be broke, So anyways, I'm going off on a tangent there, we can edit that out. I got a little clip here again from Josh and them. talking about what they think the school system's doing to people. I wanted to see what you thought about that. Oh.
Yeah, no, like I also just seen what the education system produces, and
What
I'm
does
not
it
impressed
produce?
with it. It produces docile, weak, pathetic excuses for what should be people that are just beginning to go into the world and start their life and start their family. There's no ambition.
Yeah, well, ambition, that's all part of that patriarchal oppression.
Yeah, like
Gotta
everybody's
kill
getting
that.
married at 30 and divorced at 35.
Yeah.
And
Childless, divorced
Yeah.
at 35, yeah.
Talking about the education system, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Diogenes, he was the founder of the Cynic philosophy, I believe he was, and he said that the education of the youth is the foundation of a country. So if that's the foundation of our country, we've got a giant crack line running right through ours, because
No,
it's
yeah.
not in
Well,
good
one
shape.
of the things that really struck me to the core, I would say, when I started lecturing publicly and being exposed to a much wider range, not so much range, a much larger number of people, was the degree of demoralization, especially among young men. Now, of course, if you demoralize young men, you also demoralize young women, because you know we're in this together. And the degree to which that was the case was really quite shocking to me. And you know, and I thought it through. I mean, boys in particular, they get pilloried when they're very young because their play preferences don't match up with the idiot, what would you call it? False calmness of the typical classroom. So that's a big problem. And then, of course, anything that's heterosexual is suspect on the grounds of power dynamics, essentially. Any ambition is associated with patriarchal oppression. And if you manage to escape all of that, well, then you're destroying the planet. So that's basically your destiny as a young man, right? And any avenue of enterprise you might pursue in terms of ambition is suspect, because all ambition is power, and then all enterprise is evil capitalism. And, you know, you're pretty much left with no out. And so, well, so that's demoralizing. And I think it's purposefully demoralizing, because if you believe that human activity is intrinsically destructive socially and with regard to the biosphere, then you want to demoralize young men. So what? So they sit around and do nothing, because that way they're like involuntary Buddhists, you know. Their only virtue is harmlessness. Of course, that's not a virtue.
exactly.
And if you're part of the elite, if you want to tighten the tyrannical grasp on society, so to say, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to soften the men, because that's going to be your biggest resistance right off the bat. If looking historically, it's the young men who will be most resilient to oppression. And so a direct attack on their masculinity is the...
And no MP, acting MP, has supported them once. And that when the Million Man March happened in Ottawa, they were there. You're familiar with the Million Man March?
I've heard of it,
Yeah, so protesting the SOGI in the school, the sexual orientation and gender ideology. No politician would march with them. Jagmeet Singh marched with the opposition, with Antifa countering the Million Man March. Yeah, sorry. So, I guess the question is you know, why is no politician getting involved? And do you think it should be a political issue?
I would assume so, yeah.
The pressure's on me.
Yeah, you're the politician.
The way we are governed in this country right now. Actually, we've been governed this way for a large number of years. It's just coming to a head. Is a politician would, the political winds are going that way, I need to get ahead of it, and that's really what's going on. The Million Man March is not what is considered politically astute, because it actually promotes family, it promotes anti-Marxist behavior, anti-Marxist ideology. But what we are pushing towards, and again, I'm gonna draw an analogy here. I don't know if you're churchgoers or not, but a church usually starts with a really strong pro-biblical message, and people flock to it, and they want they have, there's a hunger for that, for the strong messaging, and eventually, for whatever reason, the leadership changes, or the leadership tends to relax, and that relaxation is reflected on the lack of attraction on Sunday mornings, and so they go from seeing their followers decline, and rather than reasserting the strength and the power of the scriptures, they start grasping at straws, and what they end up doing is they end up watering the scriptures down, hoping that will attract more crowds, and more crowds means more revenue, and eventually they because they're not, they go from watering it down to totally not respecting or following the gospel at all. United Church is guilty of that. Presbyterian Church is following the same suit. Catholic Church is held strong, but it's got a lot of weak points.
And the current Pope's not helping that one.
That's right, and unfortunately there was a lot of deviant sexual crap with the priests that's come to light, and that's really done a lot of harm with the Catholic Church. If you go to the original doctrines, it's I don't totally agree with a lot of things in the Catholic Church, but it is a strong Christian institution.
Well, I mean, the main issues as far as for society goes is that they were places to teach morality and ethics.
That's right.
You know, the metaphysical, transcendental stuff can be debated either way, and it's up to personal beliefs and experiences. But and I think that's actually too why you've seen this. One Catholic historian, I forget his name now, E. Michael Jones. He always calls Islam the what was the word he used? It's almost the I can't remember the word he used, but he was pointing out one of the things, Islam often starts to rise because they tend to have very specific morals and a very specific message. And they'll lose Christians to Islam because they see that strong, and they got very strong family values. That's why, right now, Islamic families in Canada are the second fastest growing community. Because they believe in marriage, and they don't have premarital sex. And they
have no tolerance for deviant sexual behavior as well.
Yeah, and that's why they were actually the ones leading the Million Man March.
That's right. But to get back to where I was trying to go to is, similarly, our country was built on strong values. You respect your neighbor. You don't steal from your neighbor. You work hard. You live a productive life, and you do the best you can to move your life forward, and you do not depend on the government. The government is the last thing you want to depend on. And that strength is what built our country. But now we're seeing that strength eroded. And I'm very thankful to meet a young man such as Danny here. It gives me hope that there is going to be that strength in the next generation. And so I'm very thankful for that. But we have allowed a lot of rot into our system. We have, rather than leaders in Parliament, we have cowards. And they will not stand up, and they will not stand for what is correct or morally sound.
Just following with the rest of the sheep.
That's right. That's right. And our parliamentary system is designed to accommodate that to a point. And the point is your own moral stance.
Mm-hmm.
And when you allow your moral stance to be usurped by the party, then you are no longer a strong or viable or proper leader, in my opinion. And we can see evidence of that. The bill I referenced earlier, the gender bill.
Yeah, affirmative care or whatever it is.
It was unanimously passed in Parliament.
Yep.
Every sitting MP.
A surprise move from the Conservatives to fast-track the ban on conversion therapy.
There being no dissenting voice, I declare the motion carried.
After years of fighting, it passed in mere seconds, leading to rare handshakes, even hugs, across party lines. A version of this legislation passed last summer, but it was back to square one because of the election.
And I'm really happy that my colleagues across all benches have agreed on this, and it's unanimous.
NDP support was never in doubt. The Conservatives were the surprise. 62 of their MPs voted against it last time. This time, not a word of opposition and few words of explanation.
We had discussion in the caucus. When we left the caucus, the leader at the press conference saying that we are open to accelerate the process, and you have seen what accelerate means.
Voted in favor of that bill.
And what did the bill include specifically that was so immoral?
It does not allow parents, well, parents can be criminally charged if they try to have a child that is identifying as opposite gender. The parent can be criminally charged if they try and seek any counseling for that child, like to encourage them away from that mindset. Counselors, I've since learned, can be criminally charged too if they opt to counsel these children.
Yeah, they're supposed to give gender affirming care is what they call it, where if they say I'm a boy, you affirm that, even if they're a girl. Instead of, and I don't think in some way, I agree, it shouldn't be denial either, it should be exploration. Let's start asking questions, what's causing this? Because a lot of times it's rooted in other serious conditions.
Yeah, that's right.
Anxiety, a lot of times a parent's missing in the home or both parents.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that you haven't told us that you'd like to tell us or tell the world?
Nothing super special, I don't think.
Nothing super special.
Just the teaching system is gone corrupt, in my opinion.
What about this vaping in the bathrooms you were telling me about?
Oh yeah, it's hard to use the bathroom now at school without there being a crowd of people in there.
Smoking marijuana and vaping.
Yeah.
And that...
It's like that old song, "Smoking in the Bathroom," or something.
Yeah. I don't know that.
Smoking in the boys' room. I forget how it goes now, but yeah.
And this isn't, I mean, they seem very hyper-vigilant about other things in the school system right now, like whether you question things, but...
it'd be a question if somebody's a boy or a girl.
But are they not able to put some of that hypervigilancy towards maintaining a smoke-free bathroom?
I don't know, it doesn't seem like they're doing a whole lot to really stop it.
Do you think it's almost...
Like, I feel like they could put smoke detectors or something in the bathroom. Because obviously, the privacy reason they can't put cameras, but if they put like a smoke detector or something like that.
I'm surprised there isn't already a smoke detectors in the school system to detect these types of things.
There would be smoke detectors in the hallway, but...
Just not in the bathrooms, yeah.
Why not the bathroom? Usually fires don't start there?
You wouldn't,
You mean your toilets don't spontaneously combust?
Yeah, I just don't know. You figure might as well have one in every room just in case, but I guess the smoke will go out to the hallway and...
I'm not too sure.
There was a type of firecracker that you could put under the toilet seat. When someone sat down to use it, it would go bang.
Oh yeah, I've seen those before.
So, yeah.
What's your personal views on marijuana use?
I mean, if you want to do it, but I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Do you think it's harmful, benefit? Because as I was vague, some people think it's like, the cure for everything.
I wouldn't say it's a cure. I would say it's more of an escape.
Just a
Kind of like
recreational drug.
Yeah, like kind of like alcohol.
I don't know if people know this. They don't seem to make it well known, let's put it that way, but it's dangerous for young men like yourself to smoke marijuana.
Oh, I would imagine so.
Brain development issues?
No, no. Sterilization issues.
Oh.
So, stay away from it.
Yeah.
So,
would you say the use has gone up a lot?
I would imagine. Yeah, it's way easier to buy it and consume it, or I guess consume, yeah, would probably be the way to put it.
so it seems like they're encouraging self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
That's why do you want to, I'm curious, have you considered, I don't want to encourage it, we could cut this out, but have you ever thought of dropping out? Like,
Yeah,
what's the point of staying
100%.
for another year?
Yeah, I've considered since like grade 9.
Since grade 9?
Yeah.
The problem for Danny is in order to go to any trade school,
Oh, they require a
Yeah,
diploma?
yeah.
needs
grade
a,
9,
needs
or
a
grade 12.
minimum grade 12
Yeah.
Okay.
education. Yeah. So it's like they've got you like this, you know.
Yeah, you're handcuffed in.
Your head, yeah. So you spend another year listening to crap and you know swallowing a lot of crap. And,
Yeah, listen to a lot of BS.
Well, it seems like you're spending a lot of extracurricular time earning a living, so I take it you're not doing much homework.
No, I don't really get
And
any.
you're able to pass your courses?
Getting by.
Yeah, you gotta get 50% or higher.
Yeah, you gotta squeak by.
Yeah, so what do you think you're averaging right now?
Mid-60s.
So that's pretty much what your target, I assume.
Yeah, just squeak by.
And you can do that without doing any homework.
Yeah.
You know, when I was your age, I had I adhered to two things. Number one, anything over a pass is a waste of time.
Fair enough.
And number two, a test or an exam is my way of telling the teacher how good a job they did.
Mm.
And I never had a teacher that did a very good job.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that was my attitude going through high school. Is, you know, like, I got lots of things I can do with my time. I don't really want to waste it pushing for higher marks.
Yeah, as long as you
I
pass.
get past. That's all that really matters.
That's all they look at, really.
Because, I mean, there's two options here. One, we fix the school system. That's a big mess. Or two, people take their kids out of the school system, put them in private school systems, which could be done on small scale. It doesn't have to be a big, expensive school. Or three, they homeschool them. Or four, they just don't do anything.
I think there is a fundamental fifth option, and that is to redirect the financing and finances away from the public education system and into the parents' control.
Mm-hmm.
So if parents decide that they want their children to attend a public school and be publicly educated, that option's available. But if they decide that they want their children to be privately educated, then that like I said before, the $20,000 or whatever the amount is that they calculated it out to be, that money can be directed to a private institution.
Kind of like a credit that they're given per year.
That's right.
And if the school costs extra, then they can pay the extra. And
Exactly.
but you probably have a ton of new schools that would open up if that happened.
Well, the schools would have to be properly accredited, so it wouldn't be a ton of new schools. There might be a lot of parents that decide that would put them over the edge. That you know, if they've got 3 kids, that's $60,000 a year that they can be bringing in, or $60,000 every time a child passes, one of their children passes the school year,
Mm-hmm.
that they can be bringing in, and that.
You mean as homeschoolers?
As homeschoolers,
Yeah. Where the parents basically being paid to homeschool their child, or
right.
reimburse really, because it's their money in the first place. But
the idea is to bring competition into the education system.
yeah.
If we bring competition into the education system, we will see public education lose all this crap that Danny's talking about. They'll have to, because the only reason it's tolerated now is because our resources are being taken, we're being stripped of our resources to support it, and we're being we're being forced to give up our resources. Taxation is a form of theft.
Oh, sure.
And it's especially a form of theft when we're paid and it's not accounted for. And the perpetrators are the ones that are like your English teacher, that really believe that they should be promoting the nonsense that they're promoting and expect a paycheck at the end of the day too.
Yeah, exactly.
They get a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
I know teachers that have been in there $80,000 a year.
80 plus, yeah. 80 plus. They get all the statutory holidays. They get 2 weeks at Christmas, a week at March, and 2 months in the summer.
Which they can either take off or they can go get a summer job and still get paid even more.
Yeah.
No, and it's interesting because if you have that type of competition, I think what you also start to see is a lot of trade schools open up for high school students. Instead of you going, right now you could be going to a trade school instead.
You could be going to
mechanic school.
Yeah. You could be doing your first 2 years of trade school. You challenge the exam for your grade 12, and then go take your trade school. You have anything more to say?
No, I don't think so.
If anyone, would you be open to, like, if there's other, especially young people who are watching this in the area, if they wanted to contact you to, is there like a way they could contact you, or should they contact us and we just we just forward you the email? So if they want, possibly get into trade school, just find out some tips, or, I think it'd be good. Maybe one day you'll be apprenticing some of them.
Yeah, hopefully.
Is that how we word it? Apprenticing? No.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, I said it right. I want to make sure I did it backwards. Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, thank you very much then.
Yeah, thank you. Our hands are almost sweaty.
Yeah, it's pretty warm in here, isn't it?
Danny, thanks for coming. It's been a really good conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was part 2 of our interview with Daniel Hotson. It was also our final episode with Daniel Hotson. Now, I'm sure it probably didn't leave you with a really fuzzy good feeling about the education system, but it should fill you with some hope for any youth like Daniel who are willing to take responsibility for their future. Now, the People's Party of Canada opposes the teaching of gender ideology, critical race theory, and sexual orientation in the school system. We also support a system whereby parents would have more options about how their child is educated, which would include homeschooling. The degradation of the school system proves the dangers of allowing big government to educate our children. The PPC believes rather in small government and big people. In next week's episode, we'll be talking to a former high school teacher from Waterloo who is a big believer in keeping government as small as possible. His name is Dr. Graham Booker. After retiring from teaching, he went back to university and earned a PhD in political philosophy. He currently lives in Stratford with his wife and is the author of an academic treatise on libertarian philosophy called Coercion, Authority, and Democracy. In next week's interview with Graham Booker, we discuss why a purely democratic society is immoral, dangerous, and ultimately tyrannical. How even a constitutional republic may offer zero protection against tyrannical takeover, unless the Constitution itself includes certain principles. The many problems with Canada's current Constitution and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. How a country would function with a minimalist government. Not only does Dr. Booker talk like Socrates, he looks like him too. Graham does a really good job at distilling the complexities of political philosophy down to a simple moral concept based around freedom from coercion. I think you'll find his words enlightening and his frankness refreshing. That's coming next week in episode number 5 of the Purple Microphone.
Please share this episode of the Purple Microphone with friends and family. Remember, silence is consent. If you want to see positive change, you need to take positive action. If you have any questions or would like to help us, visit perthwellingtonppc.ca/contact for our email address and phone number. One of our representatives would be happy to meet with you to discuss your concerns. To become a subscriber to the Purple Microphone and Wayne Baker's uncensored email newsletter, go to perthwellingtonppc.ca/subscribe. Please consider making a contribution to help cover the costs of producing and promoting this podcast. Help save Perth-Wellington and the rest of our nation from government overreach, woke ideology, and irrational policies that are incompatible with freedom, fairness, respect, and personal responsibility. To donate, go to perthwellingtonppc.ca/donate. You can find all these links in the description below this video, along with links to any videos, articles, and books referenced in this episode.
Freedom is where there's neither tyranny nor anarchy, where the government works to keep people free. The PPC won't lock us down in a big nanny state. They'll leave us in peace to make this country great.
This production was approved by the Perth-Wellington People's Party of Canada Electoral District Association.
That was part 2 of our interview with Daniel Hotson. Well, I must confess it probably doesn't leave you with much hope about the educational system, but I hope it fills you with some hope. That's a lot of hope, isn't it? We got 3 hopes already, and I've only said a few words. Anyways, I'm going to start over again.